Unmasking Cassie Brady in disguise? The hidden secrets, shocking past, and a possible connection to John Black. Something strange is unfolding in Salem, and the mystery is wrapped up in one intriguing name, Cat Greene. She appeared almost out of nowhere, mysterious, confident, and always a little too knowledgeable about Salem's most powerful families. Cat quickly became the talk of the town, and Days of Our Lives fans everywhere have one burning question on their minds. Who is Cat Greene? Who is Cat Greene, really? Theories are flying faster than ever, and the one gaining the most steam? That Cat may not be who she says she is at all, but rather a long-lost Salemite with a past so complex it could rewrite the show's history. Could Cat be Cassie Brady, presumed gone for decades and now resurfaced with a new face, a dangerous mission, and secrets that threaten the very foundation of Salem? Let's dive deep into the clues, the mysteries, and the dramatic possibilities. The clue trail begins: Cat, Sammy, and that strange recognition. It all started with a look. Just a simple, almost imperceptible look that Cat gave Sammy Brady, but longtime fans noticed. It was recognition. And not just the "I've seen you on TV" kind. No, it was personal. Cat's eyes lingered just a second too long. She hesitated. Then she quickly covered it up with a smile. But for viewers who've watched Days for years, those little moments mean everything. They're where the truth hides. Why would Cat recognize Sammy? They're not supposed to know each other. Unless they do. Could Cat be someone from Sammy's extended family? Could she have crossed paths with her in Europe? Or, brace yourself, could she be her half-sister? The John Black connection, another secret waiting to explode. Now, let's talk about John Black, because this story may start with Sammy, but it always circles back to John. Fans will remember the stunning twist. John saved Cat's mother, Katerina, from the ruthless Greek villain Constantine Meliones. He staged Katerina's death to protect her, whisking her away to safety and vanishing from the records. A noble act, but was there more to it? Did something happen between John and Katerina during that time? A spark? A brief affair? If so, that could mean Cat is John Black's daughter, a revelation that would send shockwaves through the Black and Brady families. That would make Cat the half-sister of Brady, Belle, and Paul Narita. It would also explain how she instantly recognized Sammy. After all, Sammy is Marlena's daughter, John's stepdaughter for many years. Perhaps Cat has seen old family photos or heard stories that made that connection click. If Days is about to pull off a long-teased retcon, a rewriting of history, this could be the most explosive one yet. The European Clinic, a ghost from the past? Another tantalizing theory involves Cat's extensive plastic surgery. There's speculation that Cat was involved in a devastating car crash. Her parents were thought to have died, but only her father perished. After that tragedy, Cat and her mother were captured by Clyde Weston, who likely used them for one of his many shady schemes. But somewhere in the aftermath, Cat ended up at a European medical clinic, the same place where E.J. DiMera was recovering with Sammy Brady by his side. Could that be where Cat saw Sammy in the flesh for the first time? That would explain the recognition. That would also explain why Felicity Greene and Erin, two of her supposed sisters, didn't recognize her. Cat was altered, her face, her name, her story, all changed. But why? Because she had a mission. A spy mission. A mission for Shane Donovan. Spying for Shane, a dangerous double life? Yes, the whispers are getting louder. Cat Greene was transformed into a spy by none other than Shane Donovan, the legendary ISA agent. With Salem always at the crossroads of international intrigue, it makes perfect sense. Who better to infiltrate the DiMera empire, or uncover long-buried secrets, than someone who's already tied to all the major families but can hide in plain sight? Plastic surgery. A fake identity. Years of silence. It's the kind of story twist that Days of Our Lives fans live for. And if Shane is behind Kat's new face, what's her endgame? Who is she watching? Who is she protecting, or betraying? The Cassie Brady theory, a comeback 2 decades in the making, and then there's the most shocking theory of all, that Kat Greene is actually Cassie Brady. Cassie and her twin brother Rex burst onto the scene in the early 2000s in one of the show's most controversial plotlines. Thought to be aliens, then revealed as genetically engineered children by mad scientist Dr. Wilhelm Rolf, they were written off before their story could truly bloom. Rex returned years later, but Cassie vanished. No funeral. No real closure. Just gone. If Kat is Cassie, it would explain everything: the need for plastic surgery, a cover-up. The lost memories or changed persona, a brainwashed agent. The strange connection to Sammy and John, family ties. And the lack of recognition from loved ones, a completely new face. Is it possible that Dr. Rolf's experiments extended even further? Did he send Cassie on a mission and erase her past? Or did she flee that life, find herself caught in a new web of secrets, and land back in Salem to finish what she never started? So, who is Kat Greene? The truth is, we still don't know. Not entirely. But one thing is certain, she's not just a passing character. Her story is connected to the very heart of Salem's most powerful families, the Bradys, the Blacks, and the DeMoras. She could be a child of John Black, raised in secret to avoid Constantine's wrath. A spy for Shane Donovan, reshaped to uncover buried truths. A reborn Cassie Brady, lost to time, now returned with secrets that could tear Salem apart. Or, she could be all three. Final thoughts: what comes next? The brilliance of Days of Our Lives is that it never stops surprising us. Just when we think we've seen it all, a character like Kat Greene walks in and blows the door wide open. So keep watching. Watch her eyes. Her movements. Her moments of hesitation. The truth is coming, it always does in Salem. But when it does, be prepared. Because this isn't just another storyline. This is the return of a legacy. The unmasking of a mystery. The rewriting of a family's fate. And Kat Greene? She may just be the biggest secret Days has ever kept. Farewell to a legend. Salem bids an emotional goodbye to John Black. Salem stood still in reverence and heartbreak as family, friends, and loved ones gathered to say goodbye to one of the most beloved men the town has ever known, John Black. His funeral was not just a farewell, but a celebration of a life defined by courage, loyalty, and unconditional love. As the mourners gathered in the solemn chapel, surrounded by soft music, flickering candles, and John's smiling portrait, it became clear that this was not just the end of a man's life, it was the end of an era. John Black was many things: a hero, a husband, a father, a brother, not by blood, always by choice, and a friend whose legacy would echo through Salem for generations to come. Kayla and Roman. A tribute from the heart. Standing side by side at the front of the chapel were Kayla Brady Johnson and Roman Brady, pillars of the community and family to John in every way that mattered. Roman took the podium first. The weight of grief was heavy on his face, but his voice carried the steady emotion of a man trying to honor his brother's memory with grace and strength. Arms crossed, staring out into the pews, Roman recalled the complicated history they had once shared. There was a time, he reminded everyone, when John lived as Roman, thanks to Stefano's endless manipulation. But rather than bitterness, Roman expressed gratitude. Gratitude for the way John had carried the burden of that mistake, never running from the past. He stepped in, Roman said, voice rough with emotion, and raised my children. He took care of my family. And that family, it became his family, too. Roman paused, eyes welling. I hope I told him often enough how much I appreciated him. How much I loved him for that. Kayla followed, her gaze fixed on the large portrait of John beside the podium. Her voice trembled, but her words rang with quiet conviction. He wasn't my brother by blood, she said, but in every other way, John Black was my brother. In heart, in soul, and in action. A hush fell over the room as Kayla's final words lingered. John Black was one of the best men I've ever known. Belle's love letter to her dad as John's daughter, Belle Black, approached the microphone. The room held its collective breath. She stood tall but trembled ever so slightly, a daughter overwhelmed by grief and love in equal measure. I always knew I was safest when I was with my dad, she began, her voice cracking but warm. There were chuckles throughout the chapel as she shared one of John's many heroic tales. Flying all the way to Paris to rescue Eric after a confrontation with Stefano went sideways. Dad didn't hesitate, she said with a smile. He just got on a plane and saved the day. That's who he was. But Belle reminded everyone that her father wasn't just a spy, a soldier, or a rescuer of loved ones. He was a man who showed up for the small moments, the quiet nights, the words of advice, the laughter during chaos. He could make you laugh when you wanted to cry, she said, eyes shimmering with tears. He knew when to listen and when to hug. He always knew. With a soft chuckle, she added, he was funny, too. And I think he'd be mad if I cried all day. So today, I'll laugh a little. Because that's how Dad would want to be remembered. Paul's tribute. A son's bond forged in time. Last to the podium was Paul Narita, John's son, and a reminder that family isn't always who you raise, but who you find and choose to love deeply. Paul's face was streaked with tears before he even spoke. When he did, the room quieted completely, absorbing each word as a sacred vow. When I found out John Black was my father, he said, voice tight with emotion, I didn't know what to expect. We had missed so much time. But he made it count. Paul recalled how baseball, a sport he loved dearly, became their way of connecting. We bonded over the game, he said, a small smile breaking through the sadness. We found our rhythm, not just as player and fan, but as father and son. There was laughter when Paul remembered how, before his wedding to Andrew, he jokingly flashed a light in John's eyes, mock-testing him like a secret agent. With his skills, I wouldn't be surprised if Dad was a pro ballplayer and an ISA agent in another life, he quipped. Then, the tears flowed freely. I wish he could have been there at the wedding. I wish we had more time. But the time we had, Paul paused, struggling to speak through the emotion, was filled with love. He made me feel accepted. Completely. No conditions. He looked at John's portrait one last time. I love you, Dad. And someday, we'll play another game of catch. Wherever you are, I'll be ready. The end of a chapter, the start of a legacy. As the service came to a close, the room sat in silence, wrapped in a shared grief that was also filled with gratitude. Gratitude for having known John. For having watched him fight, love, protect, and forgive. For having witnessed a man who stood for everything good, even when the world tried to pull him into darkness. He wasn't perfect, but that was never the point. John Black was real. He was brave. He was kind. He raised other men's children as his own. He sacrificed his safety for strangers. He loved his family fiercely. And he always came back, whether from danger, from mistaken identity, or from death itself. This time, however, he won't walk through the doors of the Brady pub with that signature half-smile. But in the hearts of Roman, Kayla, Belle, Paul, and every Salem resident whose life he touched, John Black lives on. And as Belle said through her tears, perhaps the best way to honor him isn't just by crying, but by laughing, living, and loving with everything you've got. Just like John did.